Okay. I got you. I got it.
All right, Coach, we're live on the HBCU Coach's Corner, and you're live with Coach Johnnie Cole, and I'm his trusty sidekick, Rocky Miller. This is a very special edition of the HBCU Coach's Corner. Boy, do we have a treat for you guys. We're going to give you a couple minutes to get everybody in. But
play some of that good music too, Coach.
I'm not in the same location, Coach.
Oh man!
But what I will say, Coach, how you doing, Coach?
Man, I'm doing great, Coach. I had a great day at school today, and man, I'm excited about to get to this interview and interview such a distinguished person. You know, HBCU to the bone, and you know, she's the type of leadership that this show likes to expose and to get out. And her leadership in the GCAC is just extraordinary.
I prepared a little introduction for Dr. Kiki Baker Barnes. I just want to give her a proper introduction. And before we bring her up, I want to just Dr. Barnes is the team commissioner of the Coast Athletic Conference, the GCAC. Dr. Barnes brings her role a wealth of experience. Dr. Barnes served as athletic director of Dillard University, but while also simultaneously held the position of the women's head basketball coach. Dr. Barnes, the GCA, was president of the GCAC from 2009 to 2018, directed growth after several universities departed for other conferences. She was the first female and first African-American president of the GCAC and the first African-American female commissioner in the NAIA. Her unwavering dedication and profound commitment to the advancement of student athletes and the promotion of her excellence in college athletics. She's also been awarded the Nike Neil Jackson Executive of the Year Women Leaders in College Sports Award. She has been awarded the Under Armour Athletic Director of the Year Award in 2019. She was also the Women's Leader in College Sports and Administrator of the Year in 2015 and the Gulf Coast Athletic Conference Director of the Year in multiple years, which is 2011, 2014, 2015, and 2021. With no further ado, we bring to you none other than Dr. Kiki Baker Barnes.
Man, you need to hit. Oh, you ain't in the studio. We don't need that money machine over there. We getting money here.
Dun, dun, dun.
Welcome.
I'm so happy to be here, y'all. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Doctor.
Go ahead, Coach.
No, I just want to thank her for taking time out of a very busy day to come on with us and have this interview. It's not every day that we get an athletic commissioner, a conference commissioner on our broadcast, and we want to certainly appreciate you taking time out for us on this wonderful Wednesday.
Absolutely, I appreciate it.
It's been great to chase you down. You know, we contacted Obama, and it was hard contacting you. So, it's a special time. So how you feel? How you feeling today? We're glad you're on our show, and we're gonna get down into what you do and what you do best.
Well, let me tell you, it's been a very, very, very good day. I would say that I'm on the road, so I'm not in New Orleans right now. I'm actually at home where I am from, Minden, Louisiana. It's north area of the state of Louisiana near Shreveport. And so today, actually, I have been in Shreveport promoting the GCAC Track and Field Championships that's coming up in a couple of weeks. So I've done a couple of interviews. I did some radio today, did some TV today, and just trying to get people to know, hey, we on our way back and, want people to come out and support our teams, learn more about our institutions. So it's been a good week. Been a long time since I've been here for.
Your sound went out, Dr. Barnes.
Oh, sorry.
Are you able to hear, Coach?
Yeah,
I can hear.
Okay, you can hear. Go ahead. I'll get my sound taken care of.
Okay. Yeah, but I will say it's been a long time since I've been in this, been in this area for like Holy Week, because this is Easter for those of us who celebrate it. So really happy to also be here during that time as well.
Yeah. Dr. Barnes, I like to get right to it. I mean, you're a HBCU diehard, and you super. Let's get that straight.
Thank you.
I got to ask you the first. You're not gonna leave us like Dion, because somebody coming to get you now. Hey, and I'm glad you ain't used God and praying and Jesus sent you and the skies don't turn blue, and we can't lose you now. Now we might need you to go to somewhere else, but we can't lose you.
The irony of you saying that is literally, and I think when Dion made his decision to leave, I think I was interviewing with somebody about something. And I told people, I said, I ain't mad at Dion for leaving. No. I'm mad that he came in the name of the Lord. That literally, he didn't have to tell us the Lord had sent him and he was going to be here for us. And you got to think about it. He was sitting there with a lot of single mamas and grandmas and aunties with their baby boy, they pride and joy. Talking about, I'm going to be like that father figure they ain't never had. I mean, hey, he sold that thing, right?
But see, he didn't have that black background. If he'd have known, he would have known. Well, now we serious about some God.
We serious about our Jesus.
If you're talking about it, man, we cleaning, we washing feet and all that kind of stuff. So, but he had to go. Believe me, I was all for him to go, and it's a great thing. Anytime to me, some African American is reaching higher parts, because last night we talked about racial disparity on our show.
Yeah.
And we don't have enough people up there. So we can't hold on to it. And I know I said that, we're going to have to get you up there. But just bring somebody with you, Doc. That's all I'm saying. Bring some folk up there with you, so we can move forward.
You know what? So I would say if I had a soapbox item, right? If I had something that just chops my hide, and that I really feel like in the community we have to have a conversation around, it is this idea that anytime we leave a space that is mostly HBCU or all Black, like anything that's all Black, it's always considered we moving up. Like that, I mean, like the psychology around moving up. Oh, what do you mean? So I wasn't somebody when I was in a Black space? Like it really, there's a psychology that we really have to have some conversations around when we start saying, I'm moving up because I'm going to be in non-predominant Black spaces. Like
I'm talking.
And what I'm going to say to you is personally, if somebody says, and if this is the athlete coming up, be like, I've been that girl. And I was that girl where I was. So I always was that. Like, to me, somebody telling me I moved up because I left a Black space.
Well,
like I don't understand that psych. It's a huge conversation. There's a lot of psychology, but I feel like we really have to have conversations around how we believe that our spaces aren't good enough to say that we are the best if we're the best here. Well, I'm just throwing that out there.
Well, Dr. Barnes, I think you have a great point. I think when we talk about when we talk about elevation, a lot of people are normally talking about an increase in their responsibility and an increase in their paycheck. So I think that's what
I'm okay with that, but that psychologically it's like, no, now you somebody because you in the other space. Like that's what a lot of people are saying. Like, well, you was just there, you really good. I've seen people arguing about why we shouldn't do Celebration Bowl versus the NCAA playoff, and basically saying, well, if you just won the Celebration Bowl, you're really not the best of the best. I was like, but who cares? Like, why is that a conversation? Why do we have to be validated outside of our space? It's just a question that I have, because that says to me that, oh, well, I'm still not good enough if I'm the best here. So who decides?
Right.
It's my question.
That's a great point.
And what I'm saying is, we have agreed that because some other people have said that this is the way, that's the way. And I'm saying, well, I don't have to agree with that.
Right.
Just because you say that's the way. If I say Celebration Bowl or the GCAC is the pinnacle, then it's the pinnacle. And why do I care about all the other stuff? It's just a thought.
And it's irrelevant on what level you are. A champion is a champion.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I got you.
That's all I'm saying. I probably started up some stuff, but
hey, look, we got you here to talk about the GCAC. We're gonna turn it over. What we missing, what we need to go see. I've coached in NAIA. I've coached on all levels, really. Division 2, 1, 1A, 1AA. And tell us what we're missing. You got one school in there, Tougaloo. That's where my mama them from.
Come on, come on, Jackson.
So, yeah, Talladega. Yeah, so tell us about the GAC, what we're missing. I know we read about the track meet that's coming up, and they got some other things. Y'all still in basketball as well?
So basketball's over. It was a great season. This year we had 2 men's basketball teams and 2 women's basketball teams make it to the postseason. So that was really exciting for us this year. We'll finish up the rest of this year with our track and field championship and with our baseball championship, which we're hosting in Jackson, Mississippi at Hank Aaron Sports Academy. We've really been grateful for that partnership, considering the historic the history of Hank Aaron and what he did for the game of baseball. There were a couple of conversations, Major League Baseball, or initiatives that they were having in terms of trying to increase Black young men participating in baseball, because there had been a significant decline in young Black men playing baseball. And so the GCAC being able to finally offer baseball as a championship again and seeing our schools start baseball programs again has been a lot of fun. We hosted our first championship last year, and this year will be our second year hosting a championship since I think maybe 2010 may have been the last year that we had hosted baseball. So that's exciting. We're looking forward to that at the end of April in Jackson, Mississippi. And then we'll be done. Our Council of Athletic Directors is meeting. Our NAIA National Convention is April 4th through the 9th. So we'll be in Kansas City next week. We'll be deliberating, a lot of things that we've got coming up in terms of how we want to continue to move the conference forward. We voted 3 new members in earlier on in this particular year. Wilberforce out of Ohio, Voorhees College in Voorhees University in South Carolina, and Stillman College in Alabama, where we hosted our basketball championship. So starting July 1, the GCAC will be moving to 13 members, which will be the largest we've been in our entire history of the GCAC. And if you had not heard, we'll also on July 1 be taking on a new name and a new identity. July 1, we will be known as the HBCU Athletic Conference, the HBCUAC. Wow. And so we are really, really excited about kind of stepping in to our power, owning our identities as an HBCU conference, the NAIA's only HBCU conference, and really starting to help people learn more about our institutions, who we are, and the great programs, both athletic and academic, that we have at our institution. So it's about to be a whirlwind, man. It's going to be so much fun.
Yeah. Well, I was looking at the dynamics of where all your schools are, you know what I mean? And all the travel that goes on with that. You got to have some partners, or these presidents at these colleges have to be making a commitment to these athletic programs just for travel.
And I'll tell you, so one of the things that our ADs are working with right now when they get to convention next week is finalizing what the basketball schedule will look like. So we will be breaking into divisions. Part of our growth strategy was we want to get to 16 members. That's our desired goal. 16. So we're at 13. And we said once we got over 10, that's when we would start looking at divisions. So we will be at East and West divisions for next year. And there will be a schedule where they're playing home and home in their division. There'll be some cross-divisional play. But based on the last conversation they had, their last ADs meeting, it maybe they'll be paying pods when they're playing across out of their division. So we've been working on strategies for a while because the plan was always to get us to move forward to 16 members, which we knew, of course, would stretch us in terms of travel. So that is the strategy that we're working through to manage the travel piece.
Dr. Barnes, with you guys being in the NAIA, how does the HBCUAC line up against other NAIA conferences as far as numbers and things like that? Will you guys be an outlier, or will you guys be pretty consistent with what the NAIA offers as far as conference makeup?
Yeah, I mean, we've always been in line with the conference makeup, so there's no difference in terms of what it looks like for the NAIA. Now, I think, again, if we get to 16, we might become the largest NAIA conference. And I would have to go and check and make sure, but I think we would become the largest NAIA conference. And I think we would be the largest HBCU conference when we get to 16, meaning that out of all the conferences that exist, we would have the most members.
Well, you know, I'm a football coach, former football coach. What, hey, we ain't got no football over there. What we looking at? I send you my resume. Are y'all looking in the future to maybe start football?
For the most part, that's not something our schools right now, most of our schools are not interested in. Now, let me say this. When Edward Waters was with us, this may have been 3 years ago now, before they left, the decision that helped them to leave was the president at that time asking the council, hey, is anybody else going to do football? And at the time, though, the presidents who were a part of the council at that time all emphatically said, we're not interested. Right. Now, that's not to say that I've got, I think half of my council is, I've got a new set of presidents who were not a part of the conference at that time. So that's not to say that my current council might not change their mind. They might start saying we're exploring this with our group. I think it would be a question I would have to ask them. Like, is this something y'all thinking about exploring? I will say for the most part, I feel like I'm pretty in tune with my ADs. Nobody's interested in that. Right now, we're all in on basketball and what we have and letting basketball be our bread and butter. I think it's the space where we could really have a chance to compete. In terms of our strategic plan for the conference, we are looking to develop our basketball championship experience in the same way the CIAA has done it. And so we are hoping that we can build a similar experience now in the Deep South, like what they have built on the East Coast. We can, in terms of what resources we have and what our institutions have, we feel like we have what we need to build that out, and we could do it well. So it's not just enough to do something, but we also have to be able to do it well, and it has to make money for the schools. That's the other piece of this. From a conference standpoint, being the youngest of all of the HBCU conferences, we are 43 years old, and as a group, operating as a group of HBCUs, that didn't start until 2010. So our conference really operating as a group of HBCUs is only 14 years old. Right? So we are what I would say is a startup. So when you're building a business, and so, you know, just for our listening audience, how do we develop revenue opportunities that we can make money for our conference and be able to distribute money to our schools, so our schools will have money that they can count on and plan to develop We want to invest in facilities. We want to be able to, hire coaches or better coaches maybe, or have better staffed programs. Well, all of those, it's a collaboration. So from a conference standpoint, when we're looking at building a business model, because remember, all of the other conferences have been established. Their models are there. You've got your football, you've got your classics. With the media rights deal is one tentpole, right? It's one revenue opportunity that's helping us. I am right now the only full-time employee. I need to be able to get some other people in as a part of that. But up until we got the media rights contract, the only revenue source we had was membership dues. Right. And so when you think about membership dues, like that's it. You have to pay all your staff and host 8 championships just off membership dues. So the question is, where does the money come from? Right now, I could say, well, I could ask the schools to pay more, and my presidents would look at me like, that's not why we hired you. We hired you to find other ways we can make money. So you're not asking me for more money, because the money that I have on campus, those presidents need to be utilizing that for other things that need to happen on campus. So from a conference perspective, and what my role is, I got to find other ways for us to make money. Now, the second question is, well, what are the assets that the conference owns? Well, the conference only owns its championships. So the basketball championship, the track championship, the volleyball championship, the cross country championship, baseball championship, softball championship. I have to figure out how to monetize those in a way that they can make money, and that we'd be able to support the conference office, grow the conference office, as well as hopefully put money to a side where we could grow and then be able to have distributions back to the school. So this is a long-term strategy we're working to build. And you have to do one thing at a time, right? And you have to do things that make sense based on what you have. So when we look at basketball and we look at what CIAA has been able to do, we all have basketball programs, and our programs have been historically good. So we have a product now that we've got to work collectively with our institutions to figure out how we market that and how we make ourselves attractive. How do we develop brand partnerships that will give us big money to help us be able to level up? And so that is kind of, I would say, from a strategy standpoint and strategic plan, when I'm thinking about what we're doing, how are we doing this? And that's the fun part of this, right? This is what makes it fun, because we're so young, we're at the beginning. We can be creative. And so it's really, really an exciting time for the conference.
So Dr. Barnes, do you foresee a time when you guys can possibly engage in competition on the court and on the field against the SWAC schools? We already
doing that. We beat them in volleyball. We already beat them in volleyball. At least I will say the lower half of the SWAC, we beaten them already in volleyball. In basketball, depending on the year, during my time when I was the athletic director at Dillon, my basketball teams beat UL Lafayette, Sun Belt Conference. We beat Southern, SWAC. Like our GCAC been doing that, right? Like we've been doing that. Again, in certain times, like not all the time, but there have been years where we've had teams. Xavier had done it. Xavier at one point, when Dan Jackson was the coach over there, he was beating D1. Talladega, when Chris Wright, who's at Talladega right now, and Kevin Harris at Langston, when they was in the GCAC, didn't nobody want to play none of those. They didn't want to play. They didn't want to see Talladega. They didn't want to see Tulu. They didn't want to see Dillon or Xavier at the time when those coaches was in the GCAC. Like, so in basketball, our schools have been able to compete. And as people are starting to see, like I was watching the chatter kind of back and forth on social media, like, man, our schools can compete. Yes. Basketball is the place where it can happen just in general for HBCUs. If we get the right coaches. So I've known Tamika, Reed, and Dawn since they were beginning, like from the beginning.
They've been on our show. Yeah, they've been on our show. Let me tell you
something. I've known Dawn. Dawn was at Tougaloo, and they both my sorors. We've been in this thing for a long time. They were gonna be good, right? They just needed to be in a space where people was gonna support. But I'm telling you, I've known them since the beginning of their career. They were gonna be good, and they have the right mindset. So they've been in spaces where they can see what it takes, and they didn't come to the HBCU talking about what we don't have. They figured out what we had, figured out what to do, and you see what they look like, right? Like they winners. And we have to have people at our schools who not complaining about what we don't have and understand that what we have is it. And go out and be proud about it and say, this is why you need to be here. This is the advantage. And I think Tamika said in her interview, she talked about like our programs are built around family, not just wins and losses. And there is a value in that. There are people who want to be a part of somewhere I can win and be loved at the same time. Like it don't have to be an either or. And so they're really, when we're talking about how we collectively as an HBCU community figure out how to level up, like you got to have people on the teams that ain't always crying about what we don't have. And we just have to do things the best way we can, like do things the way we do them in our unique way. And we have to be okay with that. As long as we always comparing ourselves to people that we not in the same place with, then you always going to be looking like you're a loser. Like, I don't understand that. Why are we having conversations about those kinds of things? And so for me, as the leader of this particular conference at this particular time, we are focused on being the best we can be and creating our own space and being the best at it. And that's what it is. And if you want to be a part of that, it's going to be next level. Wait till you see how, when we reveal, I'm going to just say this right now. When we reveal come July 1, all the stuff coming, I'm just going to say we the place to be. But I mean, you can do what you want to do, but like, we don't feel less to anybody.
Commissioner Barnes, let me ask you this. As you're speaking and delivering your message about, and I see how enthusiastic you are about your conference, you have the demeanor of a coach that is encouraging her players, right? And I just want to ask you this, right? You took a career track that went from the court to being an executive in athletics. From what I understand, that's an unusual track right now. There are not many executives in athletics who were once coaches. Do you think that aspect of being a coach is important for you understanding what's happening on the ground, on those teams, on the athletic field, and how to improve the product and how to relate the product to your fans? Do you think that experience has a significant amount of value?
Oh, absolutely. Because, and I'll say this, when you recruit, like when I was a recruiter, and this is where the people that win, and this is why I will highlight my sisters, because they my girls, they my sorors. When I look at Dawn, I look at Tamika, it's not just enough for you to know what it takes to win, because what it may take to win in the GCAC may not be the same thing it takes to win in another role. And so the key thing is understanding your particular environment and all of the pieces of the environment. Like not just, not just, okay, well, I know this is what such and such over here is doing, so I'm going to do what they do. But what they do may not work where you at. So when I was recruiting players, I'm watching players, and there were a lot of great players, but every great player didn't necessarily fit my program, didn't fit my personality. And so the key is finding the great player that works great with you. And what I see happen is people just be going, like, when it comes to strategy, like you just looking at what somebody else doing and thinking you're going to replicate it without really understanding what works best for the environment, for the leadership, for the team you're on at the time that you're at. We are a startup. There are some people that can't deal with the chaos of not ever knowing how everything's going to work out. A person who who needs to know everything and everything got to be laid out cannot work with me right now in this particular time. We are a startup business. So that means that things may frequently change because we are growing. There are some things that may not be known and we're discovering at the same time. So you have to be uncomfortable with it, with not knowing everything, and just having faith and trust in that my leader is solid. She ain't gonna lie to me. She's gonna be clear. If it ain't right, she's gonna say that, and we're gonna keep moving. But there are people who not built to build. There are some people who need a perfect situation. Everything there, I get everything I want. I ain't got to worry about nothing. I just show up and I can perform, and they are great. And so when I think about my experiences as a player, move to coach, and building successful teams, and now having a conference and trying to figure out, well, we in this space, and I'm trying to figure out how I can get the right people on my team and figure out how we move this thing and be able to do a whole lot of work, but we don't have a lot of money, and we don't necessarily have all of the full funding that's needed. We don't have a full staff. Again, I'm a staff of one with a whole bunch of independent contractors. So the people that I have brought on as independent contractors, man, I got the Avengers. Like the team I have is unbelievable. But understand that everything that we've accomplished in 2 years is because I could recruit. And I know how to understand the environment I'm in and what type of person will fit the type of situation we have. And those are the things that I feel like in terms of when you're thinking about how you can be successful, those things are very critical as a leader. And beneficial. So it's unfortunate sometimes that you don't always see former athletes and coaches get these opportunities. But I can tell you the experiences that we've had from competition, being able to, recruiting, managing, finding the right coach, all of those kinds of skills have helped inform how I'm leading right now the conference. So it's just, and like I said, my sorors, they understand their situation. They understand who they are. They understand the type of person that's going to work well. That's why they're having success where they are. And wherever they go, they know they can replicate success because they understand those key things. And that's what it's about. We just want to do a good job. I want this conference to be a solid conference. So when I do transition, whenever that happens, that someone can kind of step in and continue to build on top of, right? That's the responsibility of a builder. That's what I am. I'm a builder. Get it set it up, and then hand that thing off, from a track. I ran track. So at some point you got to pass that baton on. But you set the foundation. I was built for that. Everybody can't look at from scratch and participate. Like I was built to do this kind of stuff. So let me come in and build it, and then I'm going to pass it on.
You're muted, Coach Cole, but I want to ask, you need to unmute, Coco. Well, I wanted to ask this question. Who is with nowadays in college athletics, a significant amount of their income comes from their media rights partners, right? Yeah. And I just want to know, who is your media rights partners? Where can we see, GCAC or HBCU action the rest of this spring and then upcoming in the fall?
So listen, y'all, go download the HBCU Plus app. We are proud media rights partners with Urban Edge Network and HBCU Plus. They have been amazing partners. Our championships with the team that they have assembled at HBCU Plus, it's just amazing. Marcus and Lisa are the husband and wife team that does the production. They are phenomenal. We are so grateful for them, and our productions are comparable to ESPN. You've got commentary. We've got sideline reporters. My director of communication, Danny, did a good job of building us a media team, people who have joined, and they do sideline reporting. It's they do a phenomenal job, is all I'm going to say. It's going to be informative. You're going to learn more about our coaches, our players. You'll learn more about our institutions. They just do a phenomenal job. And you can watch it all on HBCU Plus. That's where it's going to be. All the action will be there. And we're
so
really
are all schools broadcast each game broadcast, or is there a game of the week format or something like that? How's it?
Every school broadcasts on their own, but every school isn't doing production ESPN style. So if you're tuning in just like for a regular game, those are doing by the individual schools. And some schools have some relationships with like their communications team, and they have some support. All schools don't have that. But now the championships are all, we do the production for those. It's part of our relationship with HBCU Plus. So those are all full production, 3-4 different camera angles, interviews in the huddle, coming out, commercials. I mean, you get the full, you can put it on your TV and you're watching TV, you're watching the championships, and it's amazing. It's no different from anything else you've seen on TV. So for our championships, full production that we do with, HBCU Plus does as a part of our relationship. So we hope that you'll check it out. It's top notch. I will say that I feel really confident in saying we probably have the top conference championship production in sports. I'm not in the NAIA. I'm talking about period. They do a phenomenal job.
You're muted, Coach Cole. You need to unmute.
Are you? Oh, I'm sorry. Are you? I've just been enjoying what you've been saying. I mean, it sounds so familiar. Being from a Black college, HBCU, and just your knowledge and your stretch and your vision. Your vision that you can take this conference to greater heights. Are you in touch with ESPN or HBCU Go as well? Is that something maybe in the future? Because ESPN.
That's the competition, man. I can't talk about them. HBCU Plus is our partner.
Okay. All right. I didn't know. I didn't know if the swag has some issues. You remember Rocky with
Well, I think what Coach Cole is alluding to is that do you have any? Does HBCU Plus have your primary and secondary rights?
They have all our rights, and we'll work with anybody if they want to distribute. Look, we'll do that distribution deal. The Urban Edge Network and myself, sure, we'll entertain distribution rights other places, if we so desire. But yes, all of our rights are with Urban Edge Network and HBCU Plus. Again, like I said, anybody want to do some distribution, we can talk about some monetary compensation to make that happen.
Yes.
Now, I want you to explain to our viewers that you are the commissioner. You're not at one of the colleges, and so you got to generate your commission money pretty much.
Oh man!
And that's why you're doing it. Ain't like the colleges are feeding money into you. It's like you got to go and make it happen.
No, exactly. Like I said, I got the president's hired me and said, you got to go find some more money. Like, because we ain't going to continue to be paying these dues and not getting nothing out the deal. So the media rights deal was the first part of that. The second revenue generating tentpole, I guess, in terms of when you think about our conference as a business plan, we've got media rights. Secondly, we have relationships with cities. So remember, I said the conference's assets are the championships. And remember, I have to monetize championships. So we have been working collectively with cities to bring our events to their city. So with track and volleyball, the Shreveport-Bossier Sports Commission is our partner, meaning that they put in a bid. So there's a competition amongst cities for us. There are costs associated with that these cities are delivering on behalf. We deliberate the bids, and then we figure out which one is going to be best for our institutions. They have to pay the bid fee, which is a revenue pool for the conference. So that's another that we didn't have that prior to me starting. We didn't have a media rights deal. We didn't have bid fees coming in. And then, of course, providing other support. So with all our championships, all of our hosts host a reception on behalf of the city for our student athletes, for our coaches. That's a requirement for anyone who wants to bid on our events. Like, I mean, you got to host this. I mean, we've got to make this a great event for the city and treat our schools and our student athletes at the highest level. We want our athletes to feel like they're not missing anything because they came to a smaller HBCU or a smaller school, because you hear these conversations around lower not having same quality. That's when you hear the chat, I'm gonna go to the bigger school because I get better. Well, that's not the case for the GCAC. You're gonna get the best. Our awards are custom, and we redesigning the new awards. I'm telling y'all already, that reveal come the new year. Whoo, when I tell you them new awards gonna be on fire. Just
well, we're gonna have to get on you. Make sure we contact.
I'm coming back. Invite me back.
so we can go and broadcast a game or something and talk so great. Let me ask you, as a commissioner, and the money was important. We want to make sure we talk about the money and what y'all was doing. How much does a commission? I guess, some coaches part. How much do a commissioner play a part in hiring coaches at the different colleges?
Oh yeah,
we get involved with that.
We don't have no part of that. Look, we don't have no part of that. People hire who they want.
Do you recommend? Do you just kind of hands off who they get? That's who you're gonna work with and move.
That's
forward.
Not my role. My role is the manager coach. That's ADs. ADs hire who they want for their team. Like commissioner has no role in that. Okay. I would never want to have a role unless I would never want to be involved in that. But it's not the jurisdiction for the commissioner. It's not the commissioner's role to hire people on the campuses. That's why they have ADs. Our job is to help a collective group of people work towards the betterment of our individual institutions as well as our conference, so we can get this money. That literally is my role. How do we present the best of ourselves? What are the opportunities that help us collectively work together to get as much money as we can get?
Okay. So are there any overarching issues in college athletics that a commissioner would address? Like one of the reasons why Coach asked you that question, Dr. Barnes, is because we had a long discussion yesterday about how do we create diversity among college athletic administration and also college coaching, right?
And pretty much African Americans.
Create opportunities for African American and women in coaching, right? We read a report card from a study that was done where the disparities in coaching hadn't improved in probably 30 years. When you talk about the number of, the percent of coaches versus the percentage players, when you talk about the number of white ADs that there are, it's over 80%. And then so on and so forth. There are a lot of different disparities in the college administration, in athletics, and in coaching. How, as an AD, how is that something that you would address if it was brought up to you as an issue by your council or your board?
So I have a personal program called So You Want a Career in Athletics that's focused on helping strengthen the pipeline of women working in sport. There are a number of programs aimed at doing this, but the reality of career advancement is way more nuanced. The thing that has to happen is, in order to move in careers, based on what I've experienced, you have to have a network and you have to have people who know you. And the question is, how do I think about it as a coach, become more visible to potential presidents who are looking for ADs or an administrator, I'm sorry, as an assistant AD maybe, and I want to move up to be an AD. Well, how do presidents hire ADs, and then you have this phenomenon with search firms that presidents are now hiring to hire ADs. So there are two pathways right now. You either search firms have to say you good, or you hopefully be in some company of some presidents. And so the nuances of networking and being in the right spaces is really the bigger challenge than it is people actually being qualified to do the work. There are also nuances within the college athletics world. And so I always talk about some of my challenges personally as an athletic director for 16 years. I applied for jobs in the SWAC. I applied for Sunbelt, Southland, and I got from every search firm, it was, you're at the NAIA though. So they never could get past me being at the NAIA. It didn't matter that I had led successfully for 15 years. You're just at the NAIA. It didn't translate. Like, it just did not translate. And I'm sitting up here like, but y'all keep hiring people that ain't never been in charge. Like, so it was
basketball different in the NAIA or something. Is it a square ball or something like that? What
I'm talking about transitioning from between levels. Okay. All right. So it is way more nuanced than people understand. So when I have young people reach out to me and say things like, what advice would you give me if I want to be a Power 5 AD? I will say, well, then you need to work at all Power 5 schools, because currently in the way that people view experience and movement within the industry, they don't see skills being transferable, and they don't equate being the athletic director at small schools the same as being at a big school. There are reasons why. Regardless, it doesn't matter. So I would say if your desire is to be FBS, then you need to spend all your time at FBS, because one, the FBS people have to get to know you. Well, how do you get to know those people if you're never around them? I would say it's the same thing in the HBCU space or any of the other conferences. If your desire was to be on the West Coast in one of the West Coast conferences, then you need to go find a school in that conference, and you need to start as an intern somewhere and develop relationships, right? Because what you need to move up is you need access and you need a network. So we have to be more strategic around those particular pieces.
Well, see, that's, if I can piggyback off of that, and that's some of the things that we were discussing. And Dr. Barnes, the reason why I even started this podcast was to introduce the world to Black coaches. And, you said it earlier when we first started out, why is there different if we worked at a Black school and coached and won a championship? Why we can't
because they don't see it as comparable.
Exactly. But then when some people are hearing you now saying, well, if you want to work at an FBS school, then that's where you got to go.
Yep.
And if you want to, work down here, then that's where we'll go. But then one would say, oh, well, you're putting a ceiling on your head. And that's just one of the things I start. It shouldn't be, but it is. But then here's the other white elephant in the corner, is that now even at the HBCU level, we are hiring more Caucasians in all the other sports. Now it's like our windows are closing, especially at HBCUs. All we can now coach is football, and some Black schools now are starting to hire white coaches as head football coaches, basketball, and surely the other ones, soccer and volleyball. It just squeezing us out. What you think your answer would be to that?
Let me just say, I'm always trying to find the best coach. I don't care if they Black, white, or blue. I want to win. So I will say, just from a perspective of a person who has produced highly successful teams, I'm just trying to find the best person. I create my profile. I know exactly what needs to happen. I know what skills I'm looking for, and what is going to help. And again, the key thing is understanding that what makes me successful at small HBCU may not be the same skills that's required at maybe a larger school. It really doesn't matter as long as you understand. If you're the leader, you just have to understand what it would take and what kind of person. So I will say that starting with profiles, first of all, and understanding what key things are needed for a person to be successful is really clear. You have to do that first. So I'm just putting that out in the atmosphere because honestly, I don't care. I'm looking for winners. If you can win and you can get it done, you can be on my team. But in the conversation around advancement for minorities, it really is. We just have to understand how people see it, and then we have to create a strategy to deal with the system as it is. I am not the person that's necessarily trying to change the system. I have assessed what's going on, and now I have a strategy for working around the system. Case in point, we were only getting one team into the national tournament because we fighting with the subjectivity of ratings. Well, within our system in the NAIA, you get 10 teams, you get 2 bids automatic. And what I said to them from a short-term strategy, let's get these members. So we're going to get 2 teams in. And then we'll work on the long-term strategy is, one, I got to have solid raters. I got to get some coaches who've been in the game because it's a relationship thing. If I know you, I mean, think about this, y'all. The coaches be doing the ratings, right? Man, you know they trying to figure out how to get their team in some kind of way. But right. You also have to develop relationships. So there's some work my coaches have to do in terms of developing, strength of schedule. You hear all this strength of schedule, all these kinds of things. Well, y'all, if we know that these are the rules, get it done. I was like, I don't understand. You go play nobody but mad because you ain't getting ranked. Like, I don't want to. Let me just say this. I'm not hearing that. So my response to them is, one, you got to go play them. Then second, you got to beat them. So it's not one thing to go and play. I was like, let me tell you something. I was a competitor. I played basketball. Almost beat me don't matter. You got to beat me to respect you. So why are we crying, talking about, man, we went and played them to 5. You ain't win. You ain't win. And let me say this. You know you ain't recruit good enough. And then you want to come back and talk about the HBCUs and give me nothing. No, you ain't going hard. Now, this is me. This is Coach Kiki coming out. Like,
yeah, I see.
I don't want to hear that. I'm like, if we say we bout it, be bout it. Figure out what we need to do. We know we need big men. We know we need big women, in terms of like size for basketball, right? We know what we supposed to have. Stop making excuses. Go find us some players. Right? And then you need to commit to developing them kids. And then let's go and compete. But you saw that happen this year for basketball in the SWAC, right? You saw us go compete and win, not play them in the 5 points, right? And so you start seeing those things. So it's like we have to, again, like I said, I'm not necessarily the change the system person. I'm just saying this is what it is. And if we say we want to win, we done figured out the system. Do what's needed, make it happen, and then make them change the system again. Because every time we start figuring out, they change it.
They always move the mark block, don't they? They always move it one.
They can move the mark, and every time, guess what? And we always there.
Yeah.
When have we never not vetted? So I mean, for the people who want to change it, you can go do that. I just don't have the time. I'm just trying to win right now, and so right now, like I understand what it is. We need to recruit these teams, and we need to get the 10. So everybody was like, bet. So now we got our 2 bids, and we had two people in national championship. We did that real quick and easy. Now the long-term piece is us working on schedule and going and beating people and letting them know we here. Langston did a great job this year doing that, right? Yeah. Did a great job. Last year we had Tulu didn't receive a vote, right? For the top 25, wound up being in the top 8. They hadn't lost a game by the time they got to the conference last year, but ratings, right?
Right.
It's okay. They went and did what needed to be done. They lost to College of Idaho at in the top 8 last year, which was the team that went on to win the national championship and was the team that Langston beat. They beat last year's champion to go to the championship this year. But I'll say that those are the things in terms of when we're talking about moving up and trying to figure out how to navigate all
Wilkes with what you need to know. Today, it's Friday, March 29th. Wilkes with what you need to know. Today is Friday, June 7th, 2024. Number 1, there's a fight in Texas over a white man convicted in the fatal shooting of a Black Lives Matter protester. The shooter was quickly pardoned by Governor Greg Abbott. In July 2020, when the rideshare driver Daniel Perry stopped his car in an intersection during a Black Lives Matter protest in Austin, Texas, he opened fire from inside his car, shooting 5 times and killing the white protester, 28-year-old Garrett Foster. Greg Abbott asked the Texas Board of Pardons to consider a pardon for Daniel Perry 1 day after Perry was found guilty in the murder and sentenced to 25 years in prison. The Board of Pardons, all appointed by the Republican governor, followed up with a recommendation for said pardon. Travis County District Attorney Jose Garza announced this week that he is moving to overturn the Abbott pardon. Number 2, Thursday was the 80th anniversary of D-Day. People commemorated the bravery of soldiers, especially the little-known Black soldiers whose contributions were vital to the success of the invasion. Despite facing formidable obstacles and discrimination, Black troops such as the segregated 320th Barrage Balloon Battalion and the Red Ball Express played crucial roles in deterring enemy aircraft, transporting essential supplies, and sustaining the Allied advance. Salute, gentlemen. Number 3, recently, scientists have developed YCT529, which drastically reduced sperm count, was 99% effective in preventing pregnancy in mice, and did not cause observable side effects. The new oral contraception is expected to enter human trials by the end of the year. Studies show that men are also interested in sharing the responsibility of birth control. Before, men only had 2 options: condoms or vasectomies. Number 4, at Hopkins High School in Minnesota, 17-year-old transgender girl, Cobalt Sovereign, went to use the bathroom and was attacked by a male student. The student leaned over the stall that Cobalt was using and repeatedly called her a homophobic slur, and when she left, he punched her in the jaw, which led to surgery to treat the damage. Minnetonka police are investigating the incident as a possible hate crime because it was an act of violence that involved a student who identifies as part of the LGBTQ+ community. Number 5, Crowns and Hops Brewing Company from Inglewood, California is the first brewery to be Black-owned, woman-owned, and veteran-owned. Founders Benny Ashburn and T.O. Hunter seek to change the craft beer sector and encourage more Black entrepreneurs to enter the industry. As the founders pay it forward, Crowns and Hops continues to expand as sales have grown at a 30% increase annually. Next up, a tap room at LAX Airport. I'll drink to that. Here's your daily inspiration from Yogi's Jewels. Life is a series of choices. Sometimes the wisest choice is simply letting things play out without interference. I'm Sybil Wilkes. Be informed, be empowered.
My name is James Jr., and I won $500 on the lunch money for keeping up with the Jonas Bracket Challenge.
BS3 Network, changing the way you watch TV.